What's going on, everyone? So, Victor has been in Fromville for quite some time, right? Estimating probably 30 plus, 40 plus years. I mean, he was a little boy when he entered Fromville, and he looks to be in his, late 40s, 50s, maybe. Now, you could argue, right? Because, for example, the old man, right, that we see in the trailer for season 3 that Tabitha goes and talks to and appears to kind of help her potentially get back. We'll see how it all plays out. I've seen people throw out, like, how can he be Victor's father? Because there's this theory, talked about the theory of that gentleman potentially being Victor's father, and that's how he has all that knowledge and understanding, because the mother appeared to know a lot, right? A lot of people ask, like, well, they don't seem that far off in age. Well, if you grew up in essentially hell, like, do you think you'd age like fine wine? Like they could say Victor is like 35 and I'd probably believe it. Right? And who knows how you age in Fromville? Like, you could age very differently. Maybe you age more rapidly. But with Victor kind of being there, let's go into the assumption, say 35 to 40 years, right? It does beg the question of, like, how old is Fromville? Now, right off the bat, we don't know exactly, like, I can't tell you, like, oh, it's, 1,623 years old. But we do have some clues throughout to kind of give us an indication of just how long it's at least been around. Now, one, again, Victor talked on numerous occasions about things that had been there long before he was there. So that kind of gives us a gauge that it's been there at least, 100 plus years. But the biggest sign, the biggest clue was in, the lighthouse steps, in which, you see all of the dates that are carved into this. And, you see dating all the way back to the 1500s. 1506, you got 1609, got 1864, 1752, 1931, 1883, 1978, and then 1672. So you have all of these, like, various dates that give you, like, okay, this place is at least, 500 plus years old, right? Like, this place is potentially thousands of years old, right? More likely than not, this is probably a place that's been there from the beginning of time, right? This is probably a place that I would imagine, when all of creation and everything was created, Fromville was there. You also have things like the messages in the bottles, right, on the bottle tree, and those have dates and stuff that date back to, various past times and stuff. And, you just see tons of, like, just old age bottles and, people putting little notes and stuff there. So that gives you kind of another marker and gauge of, like, no, this place is hundreds, if not thousands of years old. And, if I had to kind of put a bit of a time date, I would say it's probably as old as time. It's probably one of those, probably some type of, obviously we don't know for certainty, but it's probably some type of pocket dimension, or, some conscious place, a purgatory type place where, people end up going to, and it's just kind of the natural balance of the universe or something, right? Like, I could see, as we start to unpack and develop, the overall story of Fromville, and, I do think you're going to start seeing things kind of start to unravel here as to, like, little clue stuff, right? Like, a big point of emphasis in the season 3 trailer is Victor remembering the past and remembering things even before him, right? That he really needs to try to remember things and the way things were back then. So clearly there's a point where we're going to unravel more of the past from this place. Now, is it only going to be a past up until the point that Victor got there? Maybe, like, little subtle things, like, slightly before. Or is it things that date back, again, like, man, this was back in the 1500s that this was discovered and I forgot about it, right? Like, or is this something that's like, oh yeah, and whatever, 1970. Like, it's just like, oh, okay. Right? Like, it really depends on, how far back, obviously, the writers and showrunners and stuff want to go. But, I would like, I like the idea of the interpretation of the longevity of this place, right? Like, it's kind of up to your imagination. Like, yes, there's subtle clues, again, dating back to like the 1500s, and then the bottle tree with all the dates and stuff. And, clearly this place is old, right? But there also are, kind of more modern buildings and stuff. Like, how did those come to place? Right? Like, you have this diner, you have these things. Were these things just kind of showed up there? Were those things that were built over time? Right? Like, you just had people just build it over time? Right? I mean, you've seen like Boyd and others building stuff, right? They had the tools and things to build the CB radio and put those things together, right? Like, so clearly they have some level of building shelters and structures, but you have like these like relatively modern houses. I don't mean modern in the sense of like they were built in 2020, but I mean in the sense of like they were basically the houses that you have here in our time, right? Like, you have houses that look like they were built in like the 70s or 80s or whatever, right? Like, you have these just kind of houses that have formed. So is that something that has just kind of always been there? Is it things that just pop up? Are we just like randomly going to get a new house that just appears there in one of these seasons? Are we just going to get, like a post office that, well, I mean, they already have it, but, like, are they just mail just going to start showing up randomly? Like, it's just, but that's part of the mystery. That's part of the excitement. I would personally, for me, like to see them unpack a little bit of the past, like the deep past, not just like just from when Victor got there. I'd like to see, some stuff, maybe even have like a scene of something that, maybe Boyd, kind of how you had the dungeon, right? And looked old and all that stuff, and Boyd had this guy. Like, what if somebody has a vision from like the 19 or like the 1500s or like, the 800 BC or something like that, something crazy. It's just like, wow, like this place has been, or was it a created place? Is it something, where it's this like old ancient place, this ancient dwelling that's been around since, maybe it was created by demons or something. I don't know. Like, how crazy will they go? How is it just straightforward at this dimension? Is it part of the world, but it's just kind of like this outer reach point, right? Like it's not really a dimension, but it's like, kind of this place that like you can't just go to, right? It's kind of out of reach unless the place chooses you. Is there this overseeing entity? Like, what is it? Is it purgatory? Is it this just mental state, right? But if it was this like mental state, then it appears like Tabitha's body appears to get out and go to this next layer, right? There's clues with like the markings on her face and stuff, but clearly, again, you see just through Victor, like Victor's obviously the proof that this place has been around, a long time. Like, this isn't, it hasn't just been the last 10 years or something like that. Obviously, Victor is the signal that like, hey, this place is at least 100 plus years old. But the markings, the etches of just clearly like, hey, this is hundreds, if not thousands of years old. My guess, if I had to kind of put a date stamp on it, I think it's something that's probably been there from the moment of all creation. Everything was created, everything was made. That's the place, right? Just something to kind of keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? How old do you think this place is? You think it's hundreds of years old, thousands of years old? You think it's been around since the beginning of time? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.